Welcome back to another episode of Garner Station's podcast here in Full Bloom Coffee. Thanks for allowing us to film our podcast here. Please come down and check them out at 141 West Main Street here in Garner and grab a cup of coffee. Today is a great day for Garner because we got two legends of the commercial real estate industry here talking to us about two exciting projects that are coming here to Garner. First off, we'll introduce him, John MacDonell with JLL. He's a broker there and is leading the INQ 4300 project. And then Grady Matthews with the most recently announced E-District project that will be coming at White Oak and Highway 70. So thank you both for being here. We're excited about your projects. We're going to talk a little bit about them today, kind of what they represent and what they may mean for the community today and moving forward. And so to begin with, John, we'll start with you.
Sure.
What is INQ 4300 and what might it may mean moving forward for Garner?
Well, right now, INQ 4300 is a former Kmart. So it's not that pretty right now, but that's going to change. This owner is a group, DRA Advisors, that owns a fund out of New York and Main Street Capital. And they have done this before. They did it in Morrisville. It was a former Sam's Club. That was 140,000 square feet. So they are bouncing over to INQ 4300. They're taking that and repositioning it, targeting life science users. It's a big box. It's 180,000 square feet. So you redo the skin, the roof, the landscaping, all of the facade, really transform it, and then you go after these larger users that are life science.
Yeah, no, that's really impressive. And I know the life science industry has been a target for the town of Garner for several years now. And we're excited about the opportunity that it'll allow us to have a more or less turnkey operation for a potential tenant and not have to wait for construction of a new facility.
That's half the battle. I mean, there's a lot of projects that are planned, but whether or not they get financed is sort of another thing. But this thing is financed, this is going. We will deliver in September, October-ish of this year.
And Grady, your background is long and extensive and done a lot of work through investment trusts and most recently heading up the Raleigh office of Cushman & Wakefield. And now we're lucky to have you here in Garner heading up the E-District.
Thanks, yeah. Back into the development game, I guess.
There you go. Yeah. Once you leave, they get you right back in, right?
Yeah, I don't think you can ever leave.
So tell us a little bit, what is the E-District and what makes it special?
I think what makes it special, the two things, so there's several things I think that stick out. There's, Wake County is a place where a lot of people are coming, and there's not a lot of places left to do things. So you're seeing more retrofit, like John spoke to with regards to current space. This is one of the few developments I know of that starts with a piece of land that's 225 acres. So it's a large piece of land. It is connected very, very well with corridors surrounding it, 4-lane corridors surrounding it with access to all of those corridors, which makes traffic disbursement pretty good. But then it's also entitled very favorably towards, value add for Garner, North Carolina. It's a CR zoning, which is community retail, which probably allows more permitted uses than any other zoning I can think of. Excuse me. So, the opportunities that we're already hearing about, it's still early. We just started the process in January, but the opportunities are really looking good.
And just for those folks that listen, E-District is at Highway 70 and White Oak Road?
Yeah, so it's really surrounded. It is on Highway 70, but it's surrounded also by White Oak and timber on the south side. So 3 pretty major corridors that surround the property with access to all of them. So that's kind of unheard of these days.
Absolutely. And I would say for both of those projects, because they're in Garner and they're on major highways, you're 20 minutes or so from the airport, 8 minutes to downtown Raleigh. You've got this incredible talent pool surrounding you. So I know, John, you're focusing on life science. Grady, is there what is the vision for the E-District and what will it look like? Or what are you targeting for that area?
We want it to be an area where it's centered around, lifestyle, which will include, hopefully at some point, retail, residential. But we also feel like it could be long-term, but a medical component. But we also want to be very, very innovative. One of the things we want to keep open is that, just in talking about the fact that there's limited availability of land in Wake County and even surrounding counties, that there are going to be folks that want to come to this area. There are corporations that have been looking in our area and can't find anywhere to go for a long, long time. So we want to be careful not to get ahead of that and make sure we're receptive to who wants to be here if they add value to the community. So we've got lots of options.
I'd say that's a big blank canvas over there.
It is a big blank canvas. So
Yeah. It's going to keep you busy for a little bit.
It's keeping me busy right now.
And I would say this too. I know, so there was a press release that was sent out, ran through the TBJ, and filled out a few calls. And just so folks know, this isn't a 2-year process or even a 5-year process, right? We're talking about a very long time horizon to really develop this thing out.
That's exactly right. I mean, I've been doing development pretty much my whole career, and to take down a site of this size, it really could be multiple projects that will be phased over time.
Sure.
So what our hope to do is to phase those projects that add value to the community as we go. So in other words, the first project would create value, add more incentive to come for the next project. So we're really just trying to protect the overall integrity of the property throughout the phase development. But definitely not 2 or 3 years, probably more along the lines of 10, 15, maybe even 20 years.
Sure. Well, let's talk a little bit. So both of y'all have been in the commercial real estate business for a long time. I guess, John, start with you. Is there anything that's going on now that really excites you about being in commercial real estate, but more importantly, being commercial real estate here in the Triangle and Garner?
Sure. I think, there's a real flight to quality out there. So you're seeing groups that, COVID hits, everybody goes home, they're working from home. Now you gotta incentivize and sort of pull your people back into the office. You can't really force them back in, was what somebody said the other day. And I totally believe with it. And some of the ways that they're dealing with that is they're kind of shedding some of the B minuses and the Bs of the world, and they're going to the A's. They're going to the trophies. I don't have the stat, but it's somewhere buried at JOL, but it's something astronomical. It's like 90% of the leasing that's been done in the last sort of 3+ years has been done in trophy or A buildings.
Mostly for the office side of things.
Mostly on the office side of things, exactly. But what's awesome about that is that, that's companies that are spending money. They're making that decision to pay the higher rent, to do the more expensive TI, because they've got faith in their business and faith in their people, and they're going to be here for the long run. So I think that's exciting, at least to me, because that's a real gut check. That's a barometer of sorts. And some cities are going the other way. They're leaving the A's and going to the B's. So when you sort of see that, you can't fake that in my mind. So that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Grady, what about you? What excites you the most right now? And
I kind of piggyback that comment with regards to population growth versus job growth. I think a lot of folks in Wake County especially have been waiting for the job growth to catch up with the population growth.
Sure.
So I think these new opportunities, that's only going to open the door for more and better job growth, which that's better for everyone. I think just in terms of what excites me about this area, having been in a role where folks are calling in, and I'm sure you see this at JLL too, John, where you have folks calling in to Wake County, Raleigh, Garner, all the other markets, just saying, we want this to do this, and it's just not available. Mm-hmm. So to create, whether it's retro type deal or whether it's new land opportunities, I think this is going to be a target market, even more so in the next 2 years than it has been. So for me, that's exciting. I grew up here. I'm from this area, born in Rex Hospital, So I've seen, places just do things that in never in a million years we thought they would do. So that's the piece that's really exciting, is just being able to be a part of responding to that growth in a positive way.
Sure, absolutely. No, I think so. I've been in Garner for a little over 7 years now, and just in that period of time, we've seen a lot of changes, and I'm sure in the next 7 we'll see even more. The opposite side of that, what concerns you?
Ooh, the biggest thing for me is inflation, and interest rates, how they affect cap rates, everything to the cost of construction. So the good news is that even in the face of some of this stuff, we're still making progress. Tenant improvement, dollars have gone, what used to be, 60 is now 70. What used to be 70 is now 85. I think our construction guru said in the last year alone, it was like a 22% increase in the cost of construction alone. So that all factors into it. But in the face of it, I think we're still plowing forward. We're still making progress. So
I was going to say, you've got 180,000 square feet flex, or not flex, but industrial, soon to be industrial building. I guess that's a little bit more on, coming sooner than maybe what Grady has at the E district. But how are you working through the cost overruns and the constant increase in construction costs to rehab that building?
I'll give you kind of what I think. There's going to be, a tenant rep's opinion is going to be different than mine. But I think in summary, it's a push and a pull. So it's like if the TI goes up, that's okay. We can reflect that in the rate. At the end of the day, it's math that it comes down to. So there's a push and a pull there. You don't see a lot of rate sensitivity, in my opinion. What you do see is TI sensitivity, the cost of the tenant improvement. And if a group has to take on, X amount of the budget and come out of pocket, sometimes that's feasible and sometimes it's not. It depends on the organization, where they are in sort of their lifespan. And every case obviously is a little bit different. But in general, I think that there's a push and a pull.
Okay, and Grady, we already established the E district is a long-term vision. I know you've been through recessions and ups and downs in the real estate market. How do you plan 10, 15 years out in an uncertain market like we're seeing today?
Well, I'm gonna go back to your first question in terms of what concerns me, and then I'll tie it into that, because I think they tie in really well. I mean, I think the same things John spoke of. A word that I've started using in the last few years is frothy, because it's not quite as disastrous as some of the other words. But I think clearly, rates going up, inflation, the credit markets are a little frothy right now, and that that can put people a little bit more in the dugout and wanting to go out onto the field. With that said, though, having seen the ups and downs in our economies, but also having grown up here, I think we're a place that is somewhat resilient to that. I never want to call Wake County or the RDU market bulletproof, because we're not bulletproof. But when you look at a market that has, 3 Division I universities, the state capital, Research Triangle Park, you know this better than I do, John, but someone threw out a figure the other day that just in the life science world, that's increased 80% in the last 2 years. If that's true, I mean, that's unheard of. So what I would say, just to end that up, is the Raleigh market, the RDU market, has done a really, really good job of bobbing and weaving to accommodate. So we haven't taken the hits. I'm concerned about what happens nationally in the next couple of years, but I feel like we're going to end up a little, hopefully, in a good spot compared to a lot of other places, and that's been what history has taught us living here. Who knows how long that'll last, but I feel like it's that way now.
Understood. Yeah, I think everyone is eager to see what the next thing is going to hold, what's around the corner. But from the town side, our development activity and the permits being pulled and things like that haven't slowed down one bit. And it's really interesting to see kind of how companies, developers, are managing this risk and uncertainty during the time. And time will tell, right? Time will tell. I think it kind of leads me into another question. I guess, John, what brought DRA and Main Street Capital to Garner? And I'll ask Grady the same question. What made Garner a good investment for your clients, and made us, we would say special, but made it stand out from all the other areas that you could invest in?
So for us, and I'll try and speak for DRA and Main Street, but I think if you look at Garner and if you look at the talent that surrounds it, so the people that work in a lot of these GMP facilities, some of them live in Garner, some of them live slightly northeast, a lot of them live south, and a lot of them live southwest. So you've got this great talent base, which is right now, the majority of them are either going to Holly Springs or they're coming up and going to the RTP. And this big box is an opportunity for a life science company to come in and put a home base, like within 5-10 minutes of these homes. So it makes a ton of sense when you look at a map, but also just macro-wise. If you look at the GMP facilities, the home base is the RTP. Obviously, you've got Holly Springs, which is very active. You got a handful of opportunities, or sort of one that's sort of north of Raleigh. But it's sweeping in that direction, and it's sweeping down Route 1. And so Garner is it's simply closer, location and talent.
Yeah, no, we try to preach that every day.
Right.
That's what we have, and we try to sell it all the time. Grady, I know your project's a little bit different, but would you say it's more or less the same?
I think so. The two things three things really, two of them are in the same category is, you're in Garner. I just came down through downtown. You're no time at all away from the state capitol, and you see more and more folks gravitating there. But you're also on the north side of Johnson County, which, if it's not the fastest growing county, and so then you have to ask yourself, with regards to commerce in Johnson County, how much is there? So that's going to create opportunities in this area as well. So I think you're piggybacking those two things to some degree with regards to uses that want to be here that are really, really good. John's project is a perfect example of folks that said, we want to be in Garner, North Carolina, which only adds value, creates jobs, tax base, the whole 9 yards. So I think at the end of the day, that's what everyone really is geared to doing. Is they're geared towards responding to growth in a positive way and creating long-term value for its citizens. So I think that's the beautiful thing about Garner, is it's got so much opportunity.
Yeah, and I'll ask a kind of a pointed question, let you both kind of respond to it. We've talked a little bit about life science, and of course we're focusing on that, as well as advanced manufacturing. And I know, Grady, you and I've talked about this, is how deep is that pool? Is that something, you hit on the fact that it's grown by 80%. Are we going to continue to see that? Should we be more focused in maybe targeting other industries that would help kind of diversify things a little bit?
It's the $1 million question.
Sure.
Honestly, everybody is asking about it. If the thing with office is you could always look back. You can look at trends, you can look at absorption, you could look at downtown, you could look at submarkets, all this data points. But what we saw is life science was here, but it was here in the form of Alexandria and Longfellow. Then enter COVID, and all of a sudden things sort of explode, and it just goes wild. So you enter, in a lot of ways, sort of uncharted territory. And then you get acquisitions by, Alexandria and Longfellow and a handful of other groups, which are buying up all the land. I think one of the best indicators, though, is the fact that these two players, like Alexandria and Longfellow, are going so active. Is nobody has the pulse of the market better than those two groups do. Not only here, but in other markets. San Diego, San Francisco, Seattle, Boston. They know how active those are, and I think they look at us and they're like, the rent's a third of the cost, the talent is still there, the quality of life is better, and so I think they're locking down a lot of this stuff. for the future. So a little bit of uncharted territory, but for the long haul, I think we're going to be fine.
I was going to say, I remember reading the article whenever ARE purchased property out at the park for $1 million.
The Genesis project.
Absolutely.
And watch that ripple through all the way down here to Garner whenever the property owners we were talking about was, well, why isn't mine worth that, and having to educate on that point. But Grady, I'll ask you the same thing, what is, and it doesn't even have to be life science. I mean,
Yeah, John has probably forgotten more about life science than I know. But with that said, I think if you look back over the last 2 or 3 years, not many folks did know much about life science because it's such a new deal. And we've seen, this with the tech boom. We've seen it with the .com boom. We've seen things just kind of go nuts. When they have not worked out, I go back again to the resiliency of this area.
Sure.
We've been very resilient and able to accommodate things not working, and we've been able to backfill them. I mean, John, as he told you, this is an old Kmart building, and look what it's going to be. It's going to be a fantastic life science deal. So we've done a good job of accommodating hiccups in the marketplace. So I think Garner is in a perfect spot to accommodate all the opportunities that are coming to this area through Wake County.
absolutely, I'll agree.
Yeah.
As far as your project in particular, and I'll ask John the same question, what are you doing to position it in the marketplace to make it stand out? And I say that because we know you go to Cary, you got the Fenton, you got tons of things going on still in North Raleigh, North Hills, and the like. And then all the energy that's in downtown Raleigh, it seems like, there's a new 40-story tower announced, every month. How are you positioning the E District to stand out from the competition? Because I honestly, I live and work here, but I think it is probably the best site in Wake County.
I think it's
Maybe the state.
I think it's better than that even.
Yeah.
Really, just
Yeah.
if you look at a site like this that is the size that it is, that has the opportunity it has, I don't know of another site that is entitled that is like it. I think it comes down to two things. We have to do a really, really good job of planning on the front end to accommodate growth. But we also have to do a really, really good job of blocking and guarding. And what I mean by that is we want the very best end users. We want, quality development. This property has been here a long, long time. And the family has been very, very good stewards of the property and the community. And I think that's going to be a legacy that continues. So, we want to be open to what's coming, but we also want to scrutinize it and make sure that it lasts the test of time.
Sure, absolutely. What about you, John? How are you positioning Inc. 4300?
Sure. So I think the simple answer, at least in my opinion, is that they're going spec. You see, I think time and time again in our market, whether it's office or life science, the groups that go spec win. I think we are in a lot of ways an execution market where we see these groups come in. You probably saw this as well, where they come in and they're like, I need butts and seats in 12 months, or less, or 10, or I got to have them in 22 or something like that. And so what they're doing is they're not waiting, and they didn't wait at the other one in Morrisville. And by just getting started and showing the progress, it helps with the vision, but it also gets you closer to when those tenants need to be in, so they can actually get in sooner the closer you are to delivering your product. That's a big differentiator. The other thing that they have going on is simply street cred. They've done it before. They can point to a building where they did 2 sizable leases. That was a big success for not only, for the owners, but for the town of Morrisville. Those are high-paying jobs, increase the tax value. It was a win-win sort of across the board. So yeah, I think I'd say simply going spec, and then the fact that they've sort of done it before helps this project in particular.
Yeah, no, I would think having that credibility makes the world of difference, and being able to have a turnkey option obviously is a huge asset for your client, but certainly even the town of Garner. I know we're really excited about both of these opportunities, and know that they will help shape our town for years moving forward. I'll leave it to give you all the last word. If there's anything we haven't covered, but I know on the E district, that's going to be a long-term, long-range development that holds a ton of possibilities for our town, and certainly on the Inc. building. I'll just say this: 7 years ago, whenever I arrived in Garner, that building was vacant, and we tried and tried and tried to get something going there, and I can't think of a better repurposing of that former Kmart space. That's going to be awesome.
It will. I think every day that we get closer to delivery, it just becomes more and more real to a transaction and a new life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, if there's nothing else, I'll thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We're excited about everything you're doing. Thank you for investing in Garner. We appreciate that.
Looking forward to it.
And thank you all for listening. This will end our podcast and our next episode of Garner Station. Once again, please come down and check out Full Bloom Coffee at 141 West Main Street in downtown Garner. Talk to you next time.